This episode is brought to you by the Shop 1 in 5 Pledge. We believe that when you purchase from a small online or offline business, your dollar goes further. Hey friends, Mina and I created the Shop 1 in 5 Pledge, and we're inviting you to take it with us. It's a commitment to make 1 in 5 of your purchases from a small business, online or offline. It's a way to make an impact together where and when it matters most. Because the truth is, your purchasing power matters now more than ever. Head to shop1in5.com to take the pledge. Make that commitment to shop 1 in 5 of your purchases towards a small business. We also invite you to shop the directory if you don't know where to find other small businesses. It's right there on the page. And we're asking for you to share the pledge. Imagine if each of us told 3 to 4 people about the Shop 1 in 5 Pledge. It would be an incredible and life-changing for so many small businesses. Tell your friends, your family, and your social network. It costs nothing extra and makes a world of difference. Our purchases have the ability to change lives. Okay, let's jump in.
Welcome to the Product Boss Podcast, where we help product-based businesses grow their sales and improve their strategies.
Hey everyone, I want to introduce you to my co-host and biz bestie, Mina Kunlo-Sitep, an Amazon guru that has built a multi-6-figure product-based business.
And introducing the other half of the Product Boss, Jacqueline Snyder. She has helped launch and grow over 500 fashion apparel and accessory brands, even one of her own.
And together, we share our inventory of secret weapons that will help you dig deep and do the work it takes.
Are you ready? Let's build together.
Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Product Boss Podcast. I'm your host, Jacqueline Snyder, with my awesome co-host, Mina Kunlo-Sitep. Hey, Mina.
Hey, Jacqueline.
All right. Well, I hope everyone out there is enjoying their summer. We have been so hard at work working on something for all of you. And that's what this podcast episode's about. So we're actually going to talk about why Mina and I have spent over $100,000 on relaunching the small business shopping directory and the Shop 1 in 5 Pledge. We want to take you along on our journey of our initial launch of launching the small business shopping directory, what we've seen happen for those companies and businesses that have been listed, and what we've seen in terms of the response, and really kind of share with you the build out of this whole thing. So I think this will be a pretty fun summer episode as well.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, literally dusting off our microphones. That's what it feels like, just jumping back into podcasting a little bit. But it's only because we have really spent this summer. And like Jacqueline said, it's been a journey. The whole Shop 1 in 5 directory, Shop 1 in 5 Pledge, we'll go over all of that. But it has been a journey. And we're still in the summer. This summer has been really about focusing on where we want to take it, what specific direction we want to take everything for the fall and the 2021 holiday season.
Absolutely. So if you don't know, back in the fall of 2020, Mina and I, we had spent the whole year really
Actually,
listening.
Let's take it a little bit back further. If you don't know, the pandemic hit in March 2020. The world shut down and everybody lived 5 years in that 1 year. But during that time, Jacqueline and I we jumped in feet first, dove into our community, gave everything we had to our community, I feel like, and our community gave everything back to us. Like, it really was an experience of, we all hunkered down together and got through the big chunk of the pandemic, And so during that time, we really were close to our community. Like, we bonded hard with them, and we really saw what their needs were, what their struggles were, how we would help them. Like, one of the initial struggles was, should I keep selling? So we helped them through that. Should I keep showing up? We help them through that. How do I get online? We help them through that. What are some other things? I mean, as we move through it, their struggles changed, and kind of our thinking changed, like who we could impact, what would happen. So then we get to fall, where you were saying, Jacqueline, fall of 2020, when we were, I don't know, I guess, coming to terms that we were in the house for a very long time.
At that point, I feel like the world sped up a little. But what we realized was, like, so the very first thing was almost like emergency, like, let's like stop stop the bleed.
Survival mode.
Survive, right? Yeah. So we really dug into that survival with our community. And then what we started to see is our community very specifically was thriving. So they implemented a lot of things that we were teaching. They just kept selling, I'm not taking the responsibility for it. I'm more saying what we saw within our community. And I think also just being in community really helped people move forward.
They did the work, but I really think that it took encouragement during that time. So as we don't want to take responsibility or credit, you cannot do it alone, especially in survival mode. And that's why they switched. Their thinking switched, I think. And I would hope that we get some of the credit because it was a lot of hard work.
Mina's like, you guys, remember how I didn't like being in front of the camera? I showed up for you.
I showed up every single day, in the pandemic.
Someone send her a message and tell her that you appreciate her getting on video. No. But so that was the part. And I think when we hit fall, because we were really gearing up for the holidays and we knew for sure holiday shopping was going to be online. Like things, I remember in California, it was shutting back down again. Like, they talked about it. There was a news reporter that called it the hammer and the dance. Basically, like it's dancing in and out of the pandemic and the shutdowns. And so when we hit the fall, we were like, hey, we're gearing up for the holidays. We all know that we have our Rock Your Holiday Promotions Challenge, in the fall, and we're helping people gear up for Black Friday to Cyber Monday and their promotions. Well, we're like, okay, there's that. But also, how are people going to connect with the small business if Main Street USA is closed down, which, how there's Small Business Saturday, the idea
trade shows were closed down.
Yeah, we're like, how are people going to find it?
Markets, right? During that time? Yeah. Oh my gosh, it's like a black hole in my memory. Yes, trade shows and craft markets and farmers markets were still closed down.
So that's when we were talking about, I think the pledge came first, the directory came second, where we were thinking about it and we're like, let's create some sort of pledge, some movement, some sort of mission, because people wanted to support the small business. We were saying how governments funded small businesses to stay open. And then people were really aware of like their neighbors owning small businesses, their local restaurants needing to be supported. The general consumer was hyper aware that it was also up to them to buy from a small business. And small businesses were able to keep up and inventory was running out with big businesses. So remember how Amazon? Remember how we could ship faster than Amazon?
Yeah.
Remember that part?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Remember when Amazon quit selling a bunch of stuff and they only did essentials only? Like that's crazy to even think about. Does anyone remember that?
Mm-hmm. Let's document that into the world because it's so easy to forget. So that's when we started the pledge. And the pledge was, the idea of shopping 1 in 5 of your purchases from a small business, online or offline, versus like the Shop Small Business Saturday, which was created by American Express. And they were definitely about that Main Street USA on Saturdays. We're like, and I talk about my mother-in-law a lot, but that's because she's like security. Like she has a huge red button by her landline because she still has a landline, and all she does is get spam calls on that landline, and all she does is press this red button to like get off their list. Like she's got this like extra device. So she doesn't want her information out there for anywhere. And so she's super crazy, like hyper aware of like all the things that she does. So she's also really conscious and cautious of who she buys from online. And Amazon always freaks her out a little bit because she's like, I feel like I'm only supporting big businesses. And I told her, well, look at my business partner. She has a small business and she sells on Amazon. But it's not always easy for the consumer to process and understand that they're buying from a small business. And so she's like, well, there's Etsy, but I don't love Etsy all the time for things either. Okay, great. And she's like, and all the stores I would shop at my local small town are closed. So how do I find a small business? And so from that,
and she wasn't going to Google in small business. Let's say she's looking for a gift, small business jewelry. That's who's going to come up. Who even knows who would come up in that
Who's
search,
even using those keywords? Yeah.
Yeah.
So when we had come up with the pledge of like the idea of pledging to make 1 in 5 of your purchases from a small business, we're like, what's missing is the consumer's connection to the small biz. And that's when we decided, okay, quick start over here. We're like, hey, Mina, I'm driving across the country. Should we also do a directory?
And that was the start of the nightmare.
That's the start of multiple mental breakdowns. So we did it. Like we created the pledge. Like I was literally using Wi-Fi in my car, like off my phone, like a hotspot, leaving Mina's house in Iowa, driving to South Dakota, like texting with our lawyer to say like, hey, what do we do about this? How do we get this pledge up and running? And I think like within 48 hours, we had launched And we had launched this directory and we were like, okay, maybe a few people will want to sign up for it. And we launched it to our list. And we had 600 businesses sign up within 48 hours.
Yeah, it was pretty
crazy.
amazing. So we put the idea out there, and it was the whole intention of it was that we were solving a problem. We were solving the problem of, but where do I find small businesses? So the heart of it was always there. We want to support small businesses because small businesses are the backbone of the economy. When we're coming out of a pandemic or any recession or any sort of thing, and during that time we weren't even coming out of it yet, it felt very much we were in it. The small businesses are the hero. Small businesses are the backbone. They're considered the backbone because they're unrivaled when it comes to hiring and putting money back into the local community. So it's something like 42% of the job force, the workforce, is from small businesses. I mean, that's 42%. That's insane, right? And then also, they just think when you're buying from a small business, you're contributing to their household. Their household actually makes a big impact in their local community, which makes a big impact on the, national economy, which is the backbone and the heart, I would say, and then the world economy. So during all of this, we were trying to kind of offset the businesses that were going out of business in the economy with our community thriving. And so it was a much heavier lift than we expected it to be for that first round, because let me tell you, when we thought, oh, we're just going to create some listings of some small businesses so people know where to shop, because we created this pledge, and then we'll have this directory, and hey, if you want to shop from these businesses, you totally can. We totally underestimated the manpower it took in order to create a solid directory that was robust, that was searchable, that, it was literally, let's just call it directory. You know how they call like 2.0? Well, this was more like 0.25.
No, here's the thing. Mina and I come up with ideas. That's what we were like, let's do this. But we didn't know that the response was going to be so great. So while we knew that there was a need from the consumer side to connect small businesses with the consumer, the customer, we actually didn't, in fact, realize that our actual Product Boss community, those of you that listen, those of you that are on our email list, were like, yes. Because I know one of the things that we ask a lot of times in our challenges or when we're live is, do you feel like if you got more eyes on your business that you would make more sales? And I would say it's probably like 98% of people are like, yes. If more people knew I existed, they would buy from me. And so I think that's why the directory did so well when we first launched it. Like we had very limited spots. Remember, we were like 10 spots for this, 20 spots for that. We thought maybe 30 people would sign up per category. And then the amount of people that wanted in was amazing, incredible. We had to kind of work, that day we're like, more people want this category. Like, what do we do? Do we turn people away? And in the fall of last year, we didn't want to turn anyone away. Like we wanted to do as much as we could for as many small businesses as we possibly could.
Yeah, I think that was like the moment that we realized the impact that we could have to really influence small business buying and whether or not a business was able to thrive or survive, And so we ended up opening more spots. We got up to like almost 600 businesses, and it really was a result of the response. And also during that time, we started the rebranding process. So we always knew we were going to rebrand the Product Boss and hire a PR team and do all these different things for the Product Boss. So this is, strategic initiatives outside of even building the directory, the business is still moving along. And so at that time, we were like, oh, let's hire a public relations person. So brilliant idea.
We hired an agency. We hired a PR agency.
Which we still love them. And they're a nationally recognized PR agency. They're amazing. Then we realized that the response to them pitching us, the PR agency pitching us, the response from the media and everything their end was that they wanted to hear more about the small business initiatives than they wanted to hear about myself and Jacqueline.
But it makes more sense, right? Because
Yeah.
if you think about our business, like we're very niche. So we're speaking to
Yeah.
small businesses, like product entrepreneurs,
Product,
people who are makers and manufacturers, right? So you have to be really niche down in certain publications to talk specifically to, if you want to start a product-based business, listen to these two ladies or read this article. But where they saw the momentum, where they saw the need in the market, and you still see it on like the morning shows, they still do all, we have tons of people within our community that have been featured on like Good Morning America and Good Day LA and things, or not Good Day LA, Good Morning, the Today Show. I don't know where I am. The Today Show and stuff like that. And they're doing these small business features. And so when we launched the pledge and the directory, the same media outlets like newspapers, magazines, Forbes, NBC, Yahoo News, like all these places were like, tell us more about this directory that you have that connects consumers with small businesses. Tell us more about the pledge. So really our PR flipped and went from, yes, we still get pitched and then we still have features, but really where we saw the momentum was in the directory and the pledge.
And the impact, right? I think it really opened our eyes up to how big the world could be as far as the impact of small businesses. So while we were thinking, let's help our community, now it was like, oh my gosh, nationally and globally, we could be making an impact. And then it turned into a much bigger thing, a movement,
So let's talk about then this leap from this. So when we initially launched the pledge was the pledge. We wanted to do that. The directory, we were like, we're just going to do this.
Founders
for the
of the pledge. It literally was us coming up with this idea of, okay, 1 in 5. Oh, that's 20%. That seems doable. And it was a conversation.
Well, that's how most of our ideas come. But we were like, we're going to make this pledge, and this pledge is going to be something that we talk about. The directory, though, was something where when any of you that are listed in the directory that are listening right now, was a 3-month thing. It was for the holidays, and we were going to shut it down. But remember how we told you we got all this press? We ended up, because there were all these links, like we were featured in on Yahoo News and NBC. We were featured as like, it was, they were saying like where to shop for for the holidays, right? There was like a thing, and it was like Etsy and the Product Boss Small Biz Shopping Directory.
I know.
Like, holy moly.
Like 5, and we were one of them. It was incredible.
We were like, we're right below
on ABC News.
Yeah. We're right below Etsy and then our directory, right? So with that said, we realized we're like, we can't, and anybody that's listening to the directory is still up on the directory, in our beta, in our first version, because we're like, we can't pull this site down. Like, so there were all these amazing backlinks, and we weren't going to pull the plug because, or not pull the plug, but like shut it down because like, look at what's happening. Right. So that's what I mean. And I really had to have like this heart to heart of, okay, what do we do? And I think that leaps us to this $100,000 investment that we're way over at this point, but
yeah. I mean, this plug ended up being like, wow. So it was, we did have it ended up being where we would never actually ever pull the plug. If anything, we would just keep this going. That is kind of the easiest version of just keeping the plug plugged in.
I think from our brain, we thought, oh, this is a holiday directory, right? Yeah. That's what we thought. It was a holiday directory. But then we realized it was so much more than a holiday directory.
Yeah. And then we were like, okay, we could just bring it out every holiday and keep adding to it. It's a chipping away at it, getting more people in the directory. But then, myself and Jacqueline, we were like, you know what? Look at all the press we're getting. Look at all the people we could impact. And then now that we're kind of at the, right now we're in mid 2021, we're really seeing consumer spending change. So we saw social justice movements happen this past summer. 2020 was just something else, let me tell you. So people have become really more thoughtful with their dollar. This is something you hear Jacqueline and I say this. You've been hearing it for the last couple of years, I feel like at this point. But more and more so even now. And so we are definitely wanting to create a bigger impact. And it is in alignment with how the world is changing. So as we're seeing the world open up, as we're seeing consumers spend more consciously with their dollar in what they believe and how they're spending and the amount that they're spending, we for sure wanted to make it like Like, let's throw gasoline on this fire and see what kind of impact we can make for all these small businesses. So it went from this tiny idea of a directory that maybe we could like essentially Frankenstein together, or should we just invest a whole bunch of money, hire a developer, hire a graphic designer, hire a copywriter?
Okay, so let's step it back. So this is what we did. So I wanted to share with you, we really wanted to kind of share this behind the scenes of like what we did in our thought process and why. So exactly what Mina said.
Went from 0 to 100.
We had hired a creative director, someone who like would rebrand the Product Boss. Well, we added to her proposal. We're like, hey, and also we need to brand and create an actual brand for Shop 1 and 5 and the small business shopping directory. So we did that. That's like been our first initial rollout of a brand
at the beginning of this year.
You'll see the Product Boss at some point because all of our resources have, when I say resources, our brain energy has gone a lot to this directory. But so when you see the directory, it is so beautiful. Like graphically, the colors, the logo, the layout, like she helped us really hone in on taking this big idea and making it something that stands on its own.
Yeah. So that was our initial hire, right? Was the creative strategist. She calls herself brand strategist. She did it. She was supposed to do it for the Product Boss as well as Shop 1 and 5 and the Shop 1 or the small business shopping directory. It ended up being like those were all crazy lifts, like really heavy lifts. So we focused all our energy onto the directory and Shop 1 and 5.
So the Shop 1 and 5 overhaul, like the actual brand creation of it, because I know a lot of you are startups, but I just want to kind of be transparent with like what we've spent and how much it costs at this kind of level. So I think it was between 10 to 15,000 for the brand strategist for this.
For that alone.
We're heading to DC to do a photo shoot that's going to be amazing. That probably at the time that you're listening to this is when we're in DC. And that's because we're meeting with her as our creative art director and doing the most magnificent photo shoot we've ever done. And some of those product shots are going to be used also within the directory.
Yeah. So, and that is for the photo shoot, it's both the Product Boss and Shop 1 and 5. But the money actually went towards the brand guidelines too that would happen, right? So that's what the result of the creative strategist was we got a really clear like brand book. Here's the brand guidelines, here's the words that you're using, here's the overall feel, here's the, like the movement of it. This is what it's going to look like. Then we actually take those brand guidelines and then we had to hire a graphic designer to build out what the actual platform, the website would look like.
And the logo. So she we had the initial idea, but then she had to basically create the logos, the taglines. Mina's from graphics. So they talk about like the lockups of the way that the text and font are created, what font we are going to use, what kind of language. And so then that's all presented in like a more fleshed out brand book that then is given to other people when they're working on your stuff as well. So she basically designed this entire website. We did 2.5 versions of it. She's such a good designer. Her name is Shauna. We did about 2.5 versions of what it would look like. She created the initial design. So then that was another $10,000 right there.
In so little time.
So like magic. And then we hired an amazing like a web development team. So they build websites, but we had to build the site from scratch because remember, there's the Shop 1 and 5 pledge, which is a normal site. Then there is also the directory and really starting to figure out this directory. And like Mina said, how is it searchable? How can people be discovered? What are all the categories that are going to be listed? How are we going to show the brands, right? Because the initial directory only had just a little image. Everyone got to pick a different size image with a shop now basically button.
And it wasn't keyword, it was like it was built into the design versus the keyword being a part of the web, being built into the website that would be able to be crawled by Google. That was like a really big thing that, we made it happen how we did it, but we had to really make sure that this one was searchable, robust, but actually utilize keywords too.
Right. So then this new site is, when you all sign up and you get listed in the small business shopping directory, there's no hierarchy. So we wanted to make it that there was no hierarchy, but rather, so you can shop by category, which might be home decor, women, bath and body, subscription box, right? Those are all bigger, higher categories. But then there's smaller niche categories underneath. So let's say if it was home decor, you can also search by like bedding or pillows or tableware. I forget the exact words right now. And so you'll be able to connect your listing to those micro like categories underneath. And so if someone's searching, they can really hone in on, does your product sell this? But here's the big thing. When you get a listing, not only is your smaller image, found within these different categories, but when you click on it, they have the ability to learn more about your business. So it has like a big banner. It has a bio image, like a bio, like your image or your logo
profile,
image.
like a profile image. Mm-hmm.
It has values. We're going to be really leaning into what your business values are. So minority owned, Black owned, women owned, eco-friendly, small batch. There's several values there that we know that the consumer finds important, and you get to tag your business as that. Then there's a little bio section plus a learn more, and it's a bigger bio section where you get to really like put in about your business so people can learn and discover about you. Because remember, they want to know, like, and trust you as the business owner. They want to get to know the business. And the coolest thing is that you got a carousel of images now within that profile.
And a video if you want.
And you can add videos. So people get to like watch a little video on your business. And if you want to throw discount codes in there for them when they discover you on the platform and they go shop from you, we don't take any percentage of sales. So that's a difference, right? Like they get to discover you and discover you within our platform, but then jump off and then go and buy from you. So that's those are some of the things like this, the bigger, more robust section of us building out this website.
A few things there, right? You get discoverability. It has tons of searchability. You also get to attract the people that align with your values. So if they're looking for small batch in Tennessee, they'll be able to find you, and I actually thought you were going somewhere else with that because you're like, here's the big thing. And I was like, okay, well, the big thing for me is that that's
because I'm like on the back end.
The no hierarchy thing. No, it's the same thing.
Okay.
The no hierarchy thing is that last time, remember that was like essentially the pre-beta run of everything. The first directory that we came out with, we actually had to put it into alphabetical order because when you're a consumer searching for something, it needs to make a certain amount of sense. So every other directory in the world has an alphabetical order, meaning that if you go to the yellow pages, if you go to Yelp, it's all in alphabetical order because that's how things, you're not going to get a shopper on there that's like, oh, how do I find this? And it can just be in any order. But the way that we built out this new website is that as they're discovering you, they go into whatever category. Let's say that we'll go with Jacqueline's example of home decor and bedding. And then as you keep searching, the search is randomized, meaning that it's not all in alphabetical order when you get down to those niche categories, that you have as big of a chance to be discovered as the person next to you, whether or not your business name is called, A1
Alphabet
bedding,
Soup or
A1
Zebra Designs.
Zebra bedding, right? So you have a same amount of being discovered, and it makes no hierarchy meaning. So while it makes sense and okay, I go to the category and I can go down this path as a consumer and discover all these different businesses. But when I get to that point, I actually can discover all these different businesses and it still makes sense, So I think that's
it's actually
a really
on any category. Yeah. So it's actually on any category page. So while everyone starts to get listed in there, it will always, if the consumer refreshes or goes and looks at a page and then goes back to whether it's a main category or subcategory, things might shift in terms of move around. And that means that it's almost like I imagine it or like if you're at a real market, right? And people are walking around, you're not alphabeticalized in terms of like walking around. They get to sort of meander and discover. And so that was our way of trying to make it fair and easier for the consumer as they come back, because we get tons of messages, people that, we don't even know that are like, I bought all of my holiday gifts from the small business shopping directory. I went back and bought graduation gifts from the small business shopping directory. So it really allows for them to discover. And as new people join the directory, new businesses join the directory, they will also get a chance to be discovered. And it doesn't matter whether your business name starts with A or Z.
Yeah.
Or L in the middle, right?
Yeah, for sure. And it becomes a really useful. It becomes a great resource. Like, so as the consumer, it's like, oh, this is really easy to do all the things like Jacqueline was saying. If I have gifts coming up, if I have even everyday living, that was kind of the whole idea of the pledge, was that 1 in 5. So it can be built into your lifestyle, that you make your purchases, your everyday purchases on there. So for example, like the example we gave was bedding. You're not going to gift someone bedding probably, but those are like everyday household items that you might need here and there.
Yeah. So then cut to another $30,000. Then we pay about $60,000 for PR. We are hiring people for the directory specifically. We're hiring
we didn't
team
even
members.
go over our initial ads budget for the first directory.
Yeah. So we hired our ads team on to take on a second account from us. So they are now going to have a Shop 1 in 5 small business shopping directory account and the Product Boss. So we've hired our ads agency on with a separate account where they're going to be running ads. We have an ad spend. And so when you get listed and you join, you'll see the investment into a 1-year listing, because it's now a 1-year listing. But part of that goes back to contributing to keeping this directory up and running, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because Mina and I, we're not making any profit off of the sales that you get. Rather, we're pushing traffic towards your
we
stores.
take no commission. So for example, other platforms, because this is essentially a platform that people are using to discover small businesses.
Mm-hmm.
Other platforms, like let's say Etsy, or Amazon, the transaction happens on there. So for example, 5% of any transaction you pay, or 5% commission goes to Etsy for any purchase made, on Etsy. 15% goes to Amazon. So 0% goes to the Product Boss when you are, when you are
so
listed
the
in
idea
the
here is, it's like, and this is what kicked off my business designer consulting co-op back in the day. I had signed up for a directory. Like my company was named with the letter D. So that was really fortunate. I didn't even realize it, but I always ended up kind of at the top of the list on A to Z directories, let's call it. But that's what kicked off my business. Like my SEO was through the roof because I had this link to this one platform that was a directory that people went to search on to find businesses in fashion. I'm not kidding when I say, like, 12 years later, still being listed in that directory year over year. I don't have to do any marketing efforts for that business. My business coach used to be like, "This is crazy. Like, who doesn't need to spend money on ads?" And I was like, "Well, back in the day, I invested in this directory." So, and I stayed in it.
And actually, I don't know if I ever told you about, so when I did graphic design, I had it under the business name Fuji Design and Marketing. And I did graphic design for banks, car dealerships, that sort of thing. And I actually had a location. Did I ever tell you that?
Mm.
Yeah. So I was at the corner, which by the way is now CVS, which is insane. And so my husband, his best friend owned a computer repair shop. And so I took up one of the rooms that was attached to it. And so I did my graphic design out of there. So I became a part of the Better Business Bureau directory as well. Or no, not Better Business, Chamber of Commerce. I was listed in the Chamber of Commerce as well as the directory of small businesses within Ankeny. And so that always got me noticed. Like, that was how I was able to get clients like car dealerships. Like I had Carl Chevrolet, for example, and the, bank that was like $1 million bank, not million, I mean, they're billion. And so being listed in, that's a version of the directory. Now, when you're listed on things like that, and I was also in the yellow pages, so man, I'm really aging myself here, but it's kind of that same idea more in a modern form, because now as we have evolved and consumer spending is what it is, technology has changed, we really built a platform where we're able to bring those two things together outside of a marketplace, right?
Because here's the thing. So like what you said is that, so on Etsy, if you do if you're giving away 5% of your sales, I think I said a $30,000 business on Etsy pays back to Etsy $1,200 a year, right? Just for that traffic that comes there. But if you think about this directory, like Mina and I are talking about, or you think about anything like Yelp, things like that, people are going to search and discover local places? Where can they drive to? The one thing that's why for our directory, it was online or offline, is that if you, and when you get listed in the directory, you can link them to your website, which is probably recommended if you have one, because you're getting the benefit of the backlink, right? Which is going to lift your search rankings. So that would be one of the benefits. But if you sell on Etsy only, you can use the directory and direct them over to your Etsy shop. You can use the directory and direct them over to your Instagram if you sell within there. If you sell only on Amazon, you can link them there. So you just have to have a URL. But if you're a brick and mortar, you also have the ability on the directory to put a listing there with your physical location. So that way, if someone is local to you, they can go shop from you. This is also going to be a global directory. So Australia, New Zealand, the UK, Canada, there's also going to be listings there for small businesses because 30% of our community is global. So we're really excited about all of that, like Mina said, and all of this is going to bring you eyes.
I have to tell you something super quick. We have a meeting super soon here, but I just looked up, this is really digging into my memory vault, I got to say. So I just looked up how much it costs to be part of the Ankeny Chamber of Commerce nowadays, right?
Okay.
And so a general one, this is bare bones, right? Bare bones is $375 per year. Is this per month or per year? Yeah,
and who's looking up the Chamber of Commerce to shop from? Not a lot of people anymore, right?
You got to be part of ribbon cuttings. It's very limited and local, right? So imagine, you're limited to local, but this one is online and offline. So I wanted to say that because I want you all to understand the power of, where you choose to list your business and how, that can compound too, right? This is on the local level, but for us, like Jacqueline said, year over year, she gained the benefits of the search engine optimization. Also with us, we're super education forward. So that means professional development from the other side of you being a business owner with being in the small business shopping directory. We'll always be on top of that. So I'm just really excited about the potential of that. It just took me down memory lane a little bit too.
So to wrap this up really quick for all of you, I know we can talk forever about this and our journey. So where we want you to know is that we saw such potential and how we could help, in a greater realm, how we could help small businesses and, like Mina said, have a bigger impact. Also connecting the consumer, the general consumer who wants to buy from a small business, like my mother-in-law, with all of you. So when you sign up for the small business shopping directory and you get listed a 12-month listing, we've talked to you about how it's going to look. You're going to get to take a look at it. It's going to be amazing. There's going to be a link in the show notes to apply and get listed. But what do you get? So you got a 12-month listing, right? You can add other categories. So as founding members, we are going to have a discount that if you buy more than 2 categories. So let's say Mina, Little Labels, wanted to be listed in kids and she wanted to be listed in home, for example, and she wanted her listing to show up in 2 different categories. You can invest into 2 different listings and we are going to have a discount for you for the more listings. So you can be found in more places. Please make sure though that what you sell makes sense to that category. You have the opportunity to update your listings at any time. So before, when you sent them to us, it was like you sent them and they were up and ready to go. Now you have a back end. So anytime you have a new product and different promotion, you want to change your bio, maybe it's the holidays, you want to put Christmas ornaments up instead of, summer ornaments. Summer. But let's say you want to change your main images.
Christmas in July, totally.
Yeah, but you can change your listing at any point. That's so cool, right? You change your photos, you can add testimonial images in there, you can add videos, just so many things.
Yeah, it's all self-serve.
You get the backlink. So we talked about that in the episode before this, but we're going to help lift your business in the Google rankings if you have a website, and vice versa. But you may not be able to get as lifted, but we are ranked number 1 for small biz shopping directory for multiple keywords. And so people will discover you faster in that way. Here's another couple other bonuses. There's the founding members pricing bonus that you will get this price locked in for 2 years. So if the price all of a sudden jumps next year, your pricing is locked in. And there's an educational component. So while we are going to do our part of lifting and sharing your business, in the directory with our platform, we have, 1 million downloads on the podcast. We have 40,000 people on Instagram. We have 30,000 email lists, right? We have all these places we're going to send people information to shop the directory. But we also have an education component where we're going to share these 5 amazing workshops with you on marketing for product-based businesses. You get instant access to those. And from time to time, we're going to add to those trainings on things that we think that are needed. Like maybe we're going to talk about photos or other ways that you can really improve your marketing. So there's an educational component as well.
Did you talk about the discounts, the exclusive discounts?
Oh, no. Would you like to share that?
Yeah. By the way, you also get exclusive discounts. So meaning we really want, that fee to pay itself back.
Pay for itself.
Yeah. In the discounts that you'll be receiving. So we're trying to get a whole bunch of really special ones for the product boss, or not the product boss, for product bosses. So meaning like from different printers or resources that could really benefit you as a small business owner for product businesses. The other thing is just general discounts, and then also discounts to each other. So we're also inviting you to, if you want to have an exclusive discount in the discounts, I don't know, like what would we call it, in the discounts vault, then we will open that up to you if you want to give that as well.
Yeah, if you all want to shop from each other and offer a discount code to each other as well, like a friends and family discount. But what we want you to know is like, we know the resources that you need as product-based business owners. And so we are going to have this sort of like resource guide, but that it's a discount guide, so that if you need something printed or you need to order boxes, we're actually working with a lot of partners right now to figure out how to bring you, specifically those of you in the small biz shopping directory, not our greater community, but the small biz shopping directory, that you would get access to discounts. So imagine for the investment into getting a listing, we want you to make that back in savings and also in education. So remember, you also get basically 5 hour-and-a-half long workshops from us, which if you were to invest in one of our courses.
Hour and a half. I really think that they're beyond that, because the Q&As.
2 hours.
I'm thinking 3 or 4. Like
there's a lot. There's a lot of hours of education. Yeah. So we would love for you to take a look. If you're listening in real time right now, it is open to apply. If you're listening sometime in the future, it is open to apply. There may not be the same founding members discount. So if you're listening to this in the month of August, go take a look, grab a listing or 2 or 3, depending on how many categories your business can show up for. Be a founding member, lock in your price for the next 2 years, grab the discounts, get the education, because we really want you to gear up, because we also fully believe that this next holiday season is going to be just as busy as last year.
It's going to be epic.
We want you to be listed here as another way for you to get traffic to your business and make more sales.
Yeah. So thanks, everybody. Thanks so much for listening to our journey of this directory. And it's been really fun sharing that with you. And we can't wait to see you inside the directory.
Thank you for being here and listening all the way through the Product Boss podcast. If you love our show and it has helped you in any way in your business, would you mind doing 2 things for us? Subscribe to the show so you never miss an episode, and leave us a review. Reviews help other product entrepreneurs know that this is the place to be to grow their businesses and realize that they're not alone. And we know that you all know that a 5-star and honest review helps you sell more products to more people. So you know that your reviews help us reach more listeners around the world. Remember, what we give is what we receive, and we are all about helping each other in the Product Boss community. We are all in this together. We would be so appreciative of you if you could take the time right now to subscribe, leave a review, and even share this episode on social or someone you know, so we can impact more lives. And remember, subscribing means that you will get notified each time we release a new episode, so you never miss a thing. You have helped us grow and climb into the top 10 of all marketing podcasts, and together we can keep climbing. Thank you, friends. And remember, there is room at the top for all of us. This episode is brought to you by the Shop 1 in 5 Pledge. We believe that when you purchase from a small online or offline business, your dollar goes further. Hey friends, Mina and I created the Shop 1 in 5 Pledge, and we're inviting you to take the pledge with us. It's a commitment to make 1 in 5 of your purchases from a small business, online or offline. It's a way to make an impact together where and when it matters most. Because the truth is, your purchasing power matters now more than ever. We're inviting you to take the pledge if you head to shop1in5.com shop1in5pledge.com. The link is in the show notes. And when you get there, please make sure to share the pledge with your friends, your family, and your customers. Let's invite everyone to take the Shop 1 in 5 pledge so that we can all use our purchasing power to change lives.